Hear that? That's the sound of someone trying to steal your crypto. Every day, thousands of hackers online are doing the same. That's why Arculus uses air-gapped cold storage technology to protect your assets. Using our keycard and wallet app to form a protective barrier, Arculus insulates you from hackers and puts control of your digital assets back in your hands. Order the first truly air-gapped crypto wallet at getarculus.com.
This is mass madness, you maniacs!
It's Moose and Maggie on The Fan. Sports Radio 1019 FM and Sports Radio 66, WFAN and WFAN FM, New York.
This is not a psychotic episode. This is a cleansing moment of clarity.
Man, how many New York athletes are going to get booed in one day? Yesterday was bad. You had Garrett Cole got booed. The $300 million man really picked the wrong time to throw a clunker for the Yankees. And you get Zach Wilson getting booed off the field in his home debut. Very opposite end of the spectrum, Moose, with a guy just starting his career, another guy who's in his prime. Both getting booed yesterday. You probably could have booed a couple Mets along the way, but, they ended up winning the game. We'll start with Wilson and the Jets. And, it would have been foolish to think that after just two good quarters in Carolina in week one, that he would just hit the ground running in week two and just sort of like, boom, skyrocket, and his arrow is just pointing up, up, up. We all know with rookie quarterbacks, it's just not going to be like that. But that doesn't mean yesterday wasn't hard to watch. That was hard to watch. He was downright terrible. 3 interceptions in his first 5 passes, 4 on the day. His footwork was bad. Obviously, the decision-making was terrible. But I think for the Jet fan, what makes it worse is not just the deja vu of Bill Belichick just beating the brakes off another young quarterback, but I think what makes it worse for the Jet fan today, even if you're the most level-headed Jet fan and you understand that this season is what it is with a rookie quarterback and the rebuild and all of that, I think what's most difficult, Moose, is that the defense to me actually looks ahead of schedule. I was so wrong. I did not think this Jets defense was going to be anything. And I think through 2 weeks, they've actually shown you that they can keep you in games. Maybe that's a little Carolina offense. Maybe that's a little Patriot offense. Mac Jones I thought was okay yesterday. I don't think he was anything great. But this defense was keeping you in the game, and now they could be ahead of schedule. So now the season is going to rest on the offense and the arm of a rookie quarterback who looked totally lost and gets booed off the field. Saleh says that Zach Wilson has to learn how to play a boring game. Well, isn't that something the coaching staff has to drive home for this kid before the game, during the game? You are not going to win this game on one throw. And I think that's on the coaching staff to try to manage the expectations that Wilson has of himself. Yesterday was bad. Even if you knew he was going to have his ups and downs this year, Moose, it was difficult to watch him struggle in the way that he did.
Not that surprising, though. Maybe the 4 interceptions, maybe it was going to be 2 or 3. But that comes along with the territory of a young quarterback, right? So you mentioned that, the Patriots and Mac Jones was okay. Well, and this is where New England's New England, right? They didn't ask him to do all that much yesterday. They didn't feel like they needed to do all that much. They needed to win a game, and they did it in style, 25-6, is their defense showing, Wilson all kinds of different looks and taking advantage at times of the offensive line. Wilson was sacked on 4 occasions, hit on 7 others. That downturn is from 16 the opening week down to 11 in the second week, not having Mekhi Becton along the offensive line. So I look at, that game kind of looked the way that I thought it would look. I thought Wilson would struggle yesterday. He did. That's not all that surprising. The Jet fan that is booing, the YOLO throws that he made at BYU, he's not going to be able to make in the National Football League. He said he was working out those kind of issues throughout the course of training camp when he was throwing interceptions and said, well, I'm trying stuff now in training camp to see if it would work in the regular season.
Cross a few more off.
Or a number of throws yesterday that he made that were throws you cannot make in the National Football League. And it was a learning experience. He'll get better by it. It's not going to define him. This is not a game where I come out of it and all of a sudden my expectations of Zach Wilson are now different. They are not. I think he's going to be a really good quarterback. I think he's going to be a really good player for the Jets. I don't think he has a lot around him when you look at that offensive line. I also think comes along with the curve. I mean, Peyton Manning threw 28 interceptions his rookie year with the Indianapolis Colts. I know Jet fans have heard that over and over again over the last 12, 13 hours since that game went final, but it's just the truth. I mean, that's just what happens. So not everyone's going to step in, and it's going to be what Justin Herbert looked like last year with the Los Angeles Chargers. It's going to take a little bit of time, and what you have to hope is that he learns from it. He has to learn that you've got to protect the football. You can't make the same kind of throws that you did in college. And he learned that lesson yesterday. And, there is not the, talent disparity between him and everybody else when he was at BYU. And you saw that yesterday. And, this is what Belichick does against rookie quarterbacks. His defense confuses them, dominates them, does all these things, makes them look bad. He has a really good record against rookie quarterbacks when they see the Patriots and them defensively, regardless of the names on the defensive side of the football. So I went into it. I thought the Patriots would win. I thought they'd cover the spread. I thought Wilson would struggle. And Mac Jones was okay, but they didn't really ask him to do all that much. They really didn't.
Right.
I mean, they ran for over 100 yards on the ground. Defense kind of led the way. Jones managed the game as best as he could. That's all they needed Mac Jones to do week 2. Doesn't mean that's all Mac Jones is going to be week 15, week 16, week 17. But in a week 2 contest, Mac Jones was a winning quarterback in the Patriots, and he did what the Pats asked him to do.
Yeah, it was basically, they were just kicking field goals all day, and that's what it was, capitalizing on the interceptions, of course. And again, I thought the Jets defense actually did their part yesterday. But, this is the thing where I get it if you're a Jet fan, right? You want to make sure that this wasn't just, a terrible rookie game. You don't want these regressions within the season, where, again, looking pretty good in the second half of that Carolina game and then, as bad as it could possibly look, yesterday. And, again, different, opponent, and obviously all of that, and Belichick is the best, but I think that's what you're looking for. You didn't even get any real silver linings yesterday. You got a couple week 1 against Carolina. You got none yesterday in terms of the quarterback. So, how does he respond to that next week when you're going up against yet another really good defense? Just ask Daniel Jones. Really about the Denver Broncos defense. It's going to be on the road. It's going to be difficult. And, there's just a couple things that I feel like I don't have really great answers for from the Jets. Number one, again, this isn't going to make or break the season, but I never got a good answer for why they don't have a veteran quarterback backing up Zach Wilson. You have a first-time offensive coordinator in LaFleur. You got a first-time head coach. You got Brian Hoyer sitting there next to Mac Jones, right? You had, when Sam Darnold was here, Josh McCown, just a guy who's not the coach, who's maybe played against Bill Belichick before, just somebody else, another voice. You could say he doesn't need it. He might have gotten pulled for that game yesterday. Whatever you want to say, I just don't. They've never given you a good answer for why they never brought in a veteran to sit behind Zach Wilson and try to help this kid out. Never got a good answer about that. And then the second one is just this Denzel Mims, disappearing act. And listen, Robert Saleh, I think, is being, I guess pretty, kind of as forthcoming as you'd expect from a head coach, which is saying, it's up to him. We're having trouble finding a role for him, which seems crazy when you look at the skills that he did show last year, Moose, in a limited amount of games. But obviously the guy has skill. He can catch the ball. He can run like the wind. If he's not a great route runner, again, is that not on the coaching staff? Unless Mims is really just saying, I am not playing special teams, and I am not going to, pay attention to this route tree, or he just isn't capable of doing it. Either way, I feel like it should at least be incumbent on the coaching staff to try to get him out there. I have to believe they are doing everything they can to get him out there. What is wrong with the Jets' second-round wide receiver from a year ago? A second straight healthy scratch.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So you mean tell me you can't find a role? If I draft a wide receiver, I guess, and this would be more on Joe Douglas than anybody else because he brought him into it. I know a different head coach with Adam Gase, but if I draft a wide receiver in the second round, first round, top 2 rounds of the NFL draft, he should not be scheme specific. It should not be a case where that wide receiver has to fit a certain scheme of what we're looking to try and do. And we know last year Denzel Mims dealt with injuries, but if Joe Douglas is looking at the Baylor wide receiver with the size and speed, he's 6'3", runs what, a 4.3, 4.4 40, right? So you can't teach speed and can't teach size. He's got both of them. So now you look at, he can't get on the field if you're the Jets when you're looking for playmakers, when you're looking at a guy that the previous week made a play against Carolina because what, he doesn't play special teams, or he doesn't have a great grasp of every single role on the wide receiver and all the different route trees of every single position of wide receiver. I just don't buy that. I mean, I really don't.
Hard to buy.
It's really disappointing when you look at it. There's no other way to cut it. I think a lot of Jet fans are frustrated when maybe it turns out to be another wasted pick. When you see the rumors over the weekend about maybe Mims, a guy that the Jets might try and move before the NFL trade deadline. I mean, so Joe Douglas's first draft is turning out to be an absolute disaster. It really has. We went over there and talked a little bit about it on Friday, Maggie, and now you look at Mims not dressing. It's one thing for him not to get reps, but not to be able to dress and then kind of getting the carte blanche answer from Robert Saleh after the game about why he's not well. He's got to do his work, and he's got to earn his way onto the field to an extent. But you can't find, as an offense, if you're LaFleur, you can't find a role or route trees that Denzel Mims is going to be successful with that's going to create matchup problems for the opposing defense and put you in a better opportunity to score touchdowns and make plays down the football field. There's no role. I have a hard time envisioning there's little to no role whatsoever for Denzel Mims on this team as a second-round pick wide receiver that's 100% healthy, that is now a scratch. There's no role that he can play in any sort of play call at any point of that game yesterday after watching what that offense did against the Patriots. There's no role whatsoever. That, to me, makes no sense.
Well, yeah, and I'll correct myself that he was active last week. Thank you for the big catch for the 40 yards, but then we didn't see him again, and then this week he was the healthy scratch. But, Moose, I'll add on top of it. Then you have the news that Crowder, I know they don't play the same position, in terms of wide receivers, they're the same position, but they don't play the same role. But you're already down Crowder because the groin flared up before the game. So you're taking another playmaker off the field, and you're telling me that at that point even, Denzel Mims, because you got Keelan Cole there, who you barely went to anyway, and he's not better than a guy, again, there's just not good answers here. And maybe the Jets can't tell us the whole truth, and, maybe we're going to find out more and more about this. But what is going on? No veteran quarterback, no Denzel Mims again. It's a shame that Crowder couldn't get on the field because of the groin, because you're just taking the weapons away. And you have a dud of a game. I mean, just a dud offensively.
It can't continue to look like that. I mean, it just can't continue to look what you got yesterday. And the Jet fan have a right to boo. It was awful. I mean, it was a terrible performance. So you want to look at the little carrot you mentioned, the defense. Okay,
I think that I'm surprised.
Yeah, I mean, they were okay. I mean, they were. I mean, they held up. They did not get their doors blown off. They were okay. I mean, and they're not dealing with a lot, so if you want to give a little pat on the back to the defense, that's fine.
I mean, 4 turnovers.
It was a non-competitive football game.
Tough to go out there.
I mean, it was a non-competitive game. The game in the second half was, you're heading for the exits if you're at MetLife Stadium.
Oh, and they did.
Heading back into the parking lot to go, continue to barbecue and have your favorite libation. I mean, that is what you're trying to do yesterday afternoon. It can't continue to look like that. And this crew, this cast, Saleh and his coaching staff, Wilson, they're going to be given time here. There's no rush here, but there has not been any kind of the first couple of weeks. There's no moral victories. There wasn't week 1 in Carolina, and there's not one yesterday. So the defense has been all right. I look at it, can't continue to look like that, Maggie. Like they go on the road next week in Denver to take on the Broncos, who are 2-0, Teddy Bridgewater and the Broncos. They beat Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars yesterday, and Urban Meyer down there in Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. It's got to start to look a little bit better than that, and there's got to be some explanations here. We know you're dealing with an offensive line. Yesterday they ran the ball pretty well.
Yeah,
I mean
Carter
is
is good.
They had 152 yards on the ground as a team. They averaged nearly 5 yards per carry as a team, and Carter ran really, really hard throughout the course of the afternoon. Wilson's got to understand you got to take care of the football, and you've got to figure out what you're doing here on a secondary level. Denzel Mims, when you have an offense that's struggling the way it is, and you're looking for playmakers, and you don't get Crowder back, you do get Cole back, and you do have Corey Davis. the tight end's an absolute mystery. So you mean to tell me I look at Denzel Mims, a second-year wide receiver that's healthy, and he is a healthy scratch because why? He won't play special teams, or you don't have a role for him on special teams, but I can't find a role for a guy with speed and size on offense.
Well, and you knew the most predictable thing that was going to happen.
In the National Football League.
Who you drafted in the second round.
Everybody's flying up and down the field.
But you knew what was the most predictable thing, because Belichick lives rent-free in my head, as he does, I'm sure, many others. If you're a Jets fan, Dolphin, or Bill fan, you know that Belichick, he's the boogeyman. You know the one thing that he's going to do, take away Corey Davis. That was it. You knew that was going to happen. So Davis finally makes his first catch right before the start of the fourth quarter. Now, granted, the second interception, that's also on Corey Davis. That was the one that I felt like Zach Wilson got the raw deal, because Corey Davis should have had that catch.
Should have made that catch.
And he admitted it. I mean, the last two, the third and fourth interception. I mean, Devin McCourty, local guy here, Jersey dude, he will never have an interception that easy in his entire life.
No, it was like fielding a punt.
There was nobody in the shot. I mean, it was all alone there. But you knew they were going to take away Corey Davis. So that
means... And they did it without their best defensive player.
Well, that's not a good sign.
That's not a good, right, but you knew, going into it, and you knew.
So Elijah Moore, Braxton Berrios.
Yeah,
and
who led the team in receiving.
And that's not a good sign either. And that's where you really want to see that Mims could have been an option there.
Yes.
It's just mind-boggling. And again, you're just not getting good answers here. I'm not saying that there might not be a reason. There could be a reason that makes sense. You're not getting it as a Jets fan. You're not getting a good answer for why there's no backup quarterback that's a veteran. You're not getting a good answer for why Denzel Mims isn't out there. It just doesn't hold up.
Well, and because you don't have a lot of great options. That's the other thing. Like, it's not like
if you were stacked.
It's not like you've got world-class wide receivers in front of them. Corey Davis, nice player. He's a good player, good free agent signing. Had a good 2 touchdowns the opening week against Carolina. Good. And I think Corey Davis is a nice wide receiver, right? But you've got Elijah Moore, a rookie, Braxton Berrios, Jeff Smith. I mean, these are the guys that are in front of him without having Jamison Crowder available yesterday. So Crowder not available. He retweaks the groin. Who knows when you see Crowder back? And I like Crowder as a receiver. I really do.
How could you not?
But you don't have Jerry Rice and John Taylor in front of him. This is not some dynamic wide receiving core where you say, well, listen, Denzel Mims hasn't earned it because look at who we have in front of him. Look at who you have. I mean, Braxton Berrios, all due respect to him, led them in receiving yesterday with 7 catches for 73 yards. You mean to tell me I can't make any use of Denzel Mims and he's a healthy scratch? Now you can make the argument, well, he's got to earn his way on. Well, I'd like to know what Denzel Mims is not doing. What is he not doing in practice? Like, is it a case where he's not doing enough, where he's not learning enough, or is it a case where you say, well, he doesn't really fit what we want to do schematically on offense because he's not a precise route runner?
What a waste then. I mean,
absolutely,
what a waste.
Well, that's on Douglas then.
Totally.
Because you can't draft a receiver in the second round. If that's the case, Maggie, you can't draft a receiver in the second round with his size and speed, and he's scheme specific.
Well, and to add the ultimate insult to injury is that was the wide receiver draft 2020. I mean, that was the one where it was like you just got wide receivers up and down the first 3 rounds. It was going to be, it's just like they're, just interchangeable, and guys are just gonna be so good, and you're like, yeah, here we go. And they get this fast guy from Baylor, and everyone liked what they saw from him when he was in the games last year, and then he's just like really a rumor. 877-337-6666. So want to hear from you Jets fans, because I think even if you knew that this wasn't going to be a straight line upwards for Zach Wilson, even if you still believe in Wilson, which I don't think anyone could be jumping off the bandwagon yet, but even if you knew it wasn't going to be a straight line, it doesn't take away from the fact that it looked really bad yesterday. It looked really bad.
Yes, it did.
And, Belichick has made a fool out of a lot of quarterbacks, old, young, all in between. Just felt like the kid didn't get a lot of help yesterday, and it also just didn't feel like he was in the game. They asked him afterwards if he was seeing ghosts, a little nod back to old friend Sam Darnold. See ghosts. The kid was blacked out. I mean, he couldn't even see a phantom if he was conscious. That was not a good afternoon.
No, how about Darnold throwing for over 300 yards? We'll get to that.
I know, but you can't do that.
Oh, it was great. Good for Sam.
It's not apples to apples.
I'm not saying it's apples to apples, but good for Sam. Wow,
how about that?
Look at that. He could play. Yes, he could play quarterback.
And that was one of the biggest surprises of the weekend.
No doubt.
Carolina taking care of New Orleans.
As a dog at home, beating them outright, no question. Jets early here. following their dismal home opener yesterday. And you heard Zach Wilson getting the boos yesterday out at MetLife Stadium. Let's head out to Howell, New Jersey. First up here on this busy Monday, it's Mario. What's up, Mario?
Moose and Maggie, good morning. How are you guys?
Good morning, buddy.
September 20th, never envisioned calling you guys this early yet in the season, but, let me just – maybe there are a lot of Jets fans who feel like I feel this morning, and you guys hit on a lot of it. This organization wasn't selling their fan base on wins, right? I mean, we knew what we were, going into this year and probably even next year and thereafter. They had to sell us on the development of the players that Joe drafted,
right?
And that draft
the
has
foundational pieces.
The foundational pieces, right? I mean, listen, I'm not even sold on Becton right now because the guy shows that he can't stay on the field. And actually, I thought the line played a little bit better. And Kaz was on with Richard Neer Saturday morning. He said that the line that we were going to see yesterday was actually a line that played a lot together in the preseason. There was some continuity there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
They did a nice job in the run game, definitely.
Absolutely. But Joe Douglas, you guys mentioned it earlier, okay? The decision with Robbie Anderson, to this day, it still baffles me, all right? It's still something I can't get over, okay? The fact that he doesn't have a veteran quarterback here, and Peter King, I think, even mentioned it today, this morning in his column.
Yeah, he said he thinks that Joe Douglas has left Zach Wilson out to dry. That's what Peter's assessment was. You've never gotten a good explanation for why. Like, it doesn't have to be Nick Foles, it doesn't have to be Nick Mullen, it doesn't have to be Gardner Minshew, but why nobody?
Absolutely. And now, we mentioned Denzel Mims, which I still can't understand it. This summer Connor Hughes was tweeting out, Mims was buried on the depth chart. He was behind Berrios. He was behind Smith. And then, you're just scratching your head. You're wondering, did they make this pick based on Gase? He had to know Gase wasn't going to be there long term and what have you. But this is where I stand right now as a Jets fan. I was nervous with Zach when they made that pick. What I saw yesterday it makes me very, very concerned. Also, taking into account of what we've seen, this is a little over 2 years now into Joe Douglas's, show here.
Right.
That's
the thing, Mario, and totally understand where you're coming from.
Douglas.
Totally.
It's very.
I never understood why he got anointed as he's the second coming general manager when no one had ever seen any of it before. I mean, Gase was so god awful bad; it gave so many people in the organization cover for as long as it did. Now they're not going to have that kind of cover, and we're looking at that 2020 draft class, and it looks abysmal. The thing is about this is where, unfortunately, it's a little unfair for this regime and for Wilson, is that the Jet fan doesn't want to hear it anymore. See, that's the thing. They don't want to see it. They don't want to hear it. This is 11 straight losses to Belichick and the Patriots. You just don't want to hear it anymore. So, Zach Wilson is going to have his ups and downs. No kidding. We all know that. But you have a fan base who just has no more patience. And this is exactly when the organization is preaching patience for what seems like the millionth time.
Yeah, but is it unrealistic to think that there should be no patience now? I mean, you're out of the Gase era.
You got to be patient, just you don't want to hear it.
You've got a new head coach. You've got a new quarterback. There's no expectations this year. There's no expectations on the Jets this year.
No, but it's just the broken drum of now this guy's going to come in and fix the culture, and this guy's going to fix the offense, and you've just heard it. It's not fair.
Right, but all of that
the Jet fan is just...
All of that takes time. All of that, what Robert Saleh is trying to accomplish, what this staff is trying to accomplish, it does take a little bit of time. It wasn't built yesterday. It's not going to be built just today, and it's not going to be built after 2 weeks of the regular season. It's going to be a little bit of time. It's got to look a lot better. So if you want to say the positives coming out of the first 2 weeks, you mentioned the defense. The defense has been representable. That's Robert Saleh's baby. Look at the offense. The offense in the second half against Carolina was better than it was in the first half. They were able to run the football yesterday against the New England Patriots. The quarterback's got to take care of the football. I get the idea of having a veteran quarterback here. I don't think that's going to be a determining factor of what Zach Wilson is as a player. I think it comes down to what you do and how you build this team around him as a player. If he has Nick Foles as a sounding board, I think he's got to see it. He's got to live it. He's got to go through it and experience it before he can learn from it.
Yeah, but why not both? He's going to live it and experience it. He got a whole heck of a lot of living and experiencing yesterday. Like, that's the thing. Is it going to make or break his rookie year? Definitely not. But why not if it helps even 10%?
They don't believe it factors in at all. Obviously, they don't. They don't feel like Joe Douglas, by his actions, have told you he doesn't have a veteran quarterback here. He feels like it's not a necessity.
I know. It's just so funny, though, because you've seen it work in so many other places. It
didn't work with Sam Darnold.
No, but Josh McCown, at least, I think, was a help that year because Darnold has said as much.
Well, that's great, but in the end, Darnold crashed and burned here.
Well, but there were a lot of reasons for that.
I get it. So it's not just not having the veteran quarterback; it's putting the roster around him as well. Like I don't know.
You could say that Sam's rookie year was his best.
Well, and you could look at the offense. Well, because he was probably better coached his rookie year than he was his next 2 years with Adam Gase. Well, it was terrible, and Joe Douglas just let Darnold die on the vine.
I don't know. Jeremy Bates wasn't any awesome offensive coordinator.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, we're not going to get into discussion about that, but I would disagree. I think Gase was just so epically bad in developing Darnold. But I look at this Jet
Jeremy
team.
Bates.
Yeah, I think Gase the last couple of years with what he did with Darnold was atrocious. But I look at the Jets this year. It's whether you have a veteran quarterback or not. Unless Wilson gets hurt, he's going to be there week in and week out, and he's doing everything. They've got a strong offensive staff that they do believe in, that they believe that can help go out there and guide it. I mean, their quarterback coach was the guy that was going to step in and play quarterback last year for the Denver Broncos if the league let him.
Right. But the thing about that is even if these guys are strong and if they end up, they're all, again, doing this for the first time. Everybody's doing it for the first time. Would it kill him to have someone who's played against Bill Belichick before? How about Ira's in Staten Island? What's up, Ira? How are you doing?
Good. Good morning. And, I understand the frustration. And listen, I'm just as frustrated as everybody else. But the patience thing, I do understand what's going on over there. And just to kind of address everything, the Mims thing, he was drafted for Gase's system. He does not fit this system. And quite frankly, he didn't really even earn a roster spot. The only reason he's on this roster is because Douglas picked him with the second pick. And they got too cute in that draft. They traded down while Chase Poole was sitting there, and he was right for the takings. But no, they traded down and take Mims. But yeah, look, listen, it is what it is. He'll probably get traded.
Yeah, but Ira, think about what you just said, though. Yeah, that's a knock on Douglas because Adam Gase should never have been the head coach of this football team. And Joe Douglas had to know that he was going to be making a change.
That's right. And now I spoke to Mark yesterday. I told you guys that we're going to run the ball better yesterday.
Yeah.
I saw what Font did. Now, get it. A lot of that yard in the fourth quarter, Belichick was trading clock for yardage because it was a 2-3 score game at that time, so I get it. But they did run the ball, and I thought Carter showed a lot of promise. Maggie, you're 100% right. I think the defense did play well. They actually, quite honestly, they played well enough these last 2 weeks to win both games if they had a competent offense. Mm-hmm. My biggest concern here, listen, Zach takes a lot of responsibilities. There's going to be ups and downs with him. And there's going to be another 3 or 4 interception game, or maybe 2 more coming this year. It's part of the learning curve, especially coming from a program where he came from. But the problem I have here is that the coaching staff, especially the offensive coordinator, is not putting this kid in a good situation with game plans. You look across to the other sidelines, what they did dink and dunk with Jones. They didn't ask him to do too much. And the Jets have a strong enough running game where they could do the same. And the other thing, look what they're doing with Elijah Moore. This kid is dynamic with the ball in his hands, but they're so bent on making him an outside receiver. Okay, yesterday's lineup, you should have Davis outside, Cole outside, and you should have had more in the slot and maybe interchangeable. And as for checkdowns, I got to watch the tape again, but just going through my mind real quickly, I didn't even see an option for checkdowns.
Yeah,
how is this offense going to operate without a tight end? How's Michael Floyd going to run a side end?
You're breaking up on
your
us.
Connection's getting bad.
So you're looking at the lack of tight end, lack of check down options for Zach Wilson yesterday, and being critical of the game planning of LaFleur and what the Jets are doing with it, asking for Zach Wilson to go and do a little bit too much. Fair. I mean, with the ground game being what it was, you want to simplify the game plan. I think they want to make use of his ingenuity at the quarterback spot, his ability to throw the ball down the field, to push the ball down the field. You're going to see that. with the Mims stuff, I'm sorry. I mean, maybe it's just me. If I'm drafting a wide receiver in the second round, I might draft a wide receiver in the 6th or 7th round that might be specific to a scheme. If I'm drafting a receiver in the second round, he should be able to play for me if I need to change what I'm going to be doing offensively. If I'm going in another direction, mind you, got to remember, if Joe Douglas is doing that for Adam Gase in the second round 2 drafts ago, he knew that Adam Gase, we all knew Adam Gase, and Joe Douglas did next to nothing. So you mean to tell me Joe Douglas goes, drafts a wide receiver that is scheme-specific for Adam Gase and that offense, yet then does nothing really else to help out the Jets the entire offseason in free agency, lets them die on the vine, and now you got Denzel Mims, who's a healthy scratch game 2 at home against the New England Patriots. Like, that makes no sense.
No, it wasn't the quarterback, Morgan, was he also supposed to be a Gase pick? Did we hear that after the fact? I'm like, how many was Gase getting in this 2020 draft? Come on.
Who's now a member who's on the Carolina Panthers practice squad.
Yeah, so that he gets, help scheme against the Jets in week 1. That doesn't make any sense. That is caping for Douglas. That has to be, because that is just ridiculous.
Clark, New Jersey. Joe, what's going on, Joe?
Hey, what's going on, guys? What's up, Mac? What's up, Moose?
What up, Joe?
About the Jets, before I talk about the game, and I piggyback on the first caller and what you guys are saying, as far as a backup quarterback, that's a joke. They don't have one. And even just as a mentor to a young quarterback, not even the fact that he's there in case. Flacco, they could have kept Flacco just as a mentor, would have been great. I'm going to get on Joe Douglas here. I'm not going to get on the Jets for yesterday. I don't expect much. I just want to see a progression of Wilson. But you look at last year's draft, guys. Besides Becton, who looked like he took a step back in training camp, all you read about him, and he wasn't the same player. Look at that draft, how bad. Mims now, he doesn't play. You want to trade him. P. Ryan never gets on the field. Ashton Davis stinks. Jabari Zagar, the kid, he's on the practice squad, the 3rd-round pick. He doesn't play. James Morgan, the quarterback, 5th round. He doesn't play. It's unbelievable. Man is the only guy. Any good, really.
Now he's hurt.
The punter. It's unbelievable, guys. Joe Douglas did a horrible job. And this year, the jury's out on this year's draft. But not having a backup quarterback is terrible. And, look, like with Wilson, I'm not going to take anything from yesterday's game. It's the second game of his career. He's going to get better as time goes on. Everybody struggled. Come on, people forget. Eli Manning, they all did.
Everyone does.
My thing is Joe Douglas here. He didn't put – I don't think they need a tight end, first of all. They got rid of Herndon, who they said didn't fit. He's probably going to thrive now in Minnesota. But, I don't know. The running game looks good. The wide receivers, how Mims is not on that team, Moose, I don't get it.
We'll see what happens next week.
Yeah, I don't get it with Mims.
Because, the problems that they're saying about Mims, and, someone, I couldn't tell who it was in the postgame, brought this up. Someone in the media brought it up to Saleh, saying, listen, if he's not learning all the other positions, the other wide receiver positions, that's not going to happen overnight. If you're not going to be an impactful special teams person, well, that's not going to happen overnight. So how is he going to find his way on the field this season? And Saleh was just like, yeah, I got nothing for you. He's got to earn it. It's like,
well, he's clearly not doing something in practice.
Obviously not. He's not impressing them.
Clearly he's not impressing them. Maybe it's his lack of commitment. Maybe he's not doing enough work on in the film room. Maybe I'm sure they've tried to help him. Maybe it's just a case, Maggie, that he is not, he's not specific to this scheme or doesn't fit what they're looking to try and do. I don't know. When you look at the all-time great wide receivers, and I'm not saying he's these guys, but my point. My point is when Jerry Rice stepped on the field, did he know every route tree of every single wide receiver in the West Coast offense? When Julio Jones steps on the field, when Randy Moss stepped on the field, when Chris Carter stepped on the field, you go back to the great wide receivers in this game. Either you could play, you mean to tell me, you look at a guy that's got, you have the size and you have the speed, and all you hear is speed kills all day. You can't teach speed. He's got speed. He's got size at 6'3". We've seen him make plays. Coming out of last year, we said he looks the part. Mm-hmm. He looked like a good young wide receiver. He looked the part. And he's a healthy scratch week 2 when you don't have Jamison Crowder and you've got Braxton Berrios lenient receiving. Something's what did Denzel Mims do to some? What is he just not showing? What is going on that he can't see the field?
More food poisoning?
I have no idea. Yeah, mind you, this is a guy that lost 21 pounds in the offseason because he got a bad piece of fish down in Florida Park.
It was an inside job.
Yes.
That was the worst part about it.
Right, what was it, salmon?
Maybe he can shack up with the Salas in the hotel for a couple nights. And,
not only did he can't get playing time, they gave him food poisoning too.
Listen, maybe he can start babysitting. He'd have some kind of, impact on this team. Help out the head coach. That was a crazy story they told yesterday. The fact that Salah's living out of a hotel, him, 7 kids, him and his wife, and a nanny. 2 rooms. That's crowded.
Yeah.
5 people per room in a hotel room. That's like when I went on spring break in high school. We were sleeping 3 girls to a bed.
It's got to be like 2 suites.
I freaking hope so.
It's not like 2. It can't just be 2 regular rooms that are like connected.
No, I don't think he's like at the Motel 6 and it's room 10 and room 11.
It's got to be 2 suites.
Free cable.
Even HBO. Even still, though, that's a lot of people, even for 2 suites. I mean, I guess we're talking about the presidential suite or something like that.
Yeah. Heard that it was not, even before yesterday, someone told me it was not going well. The house.
The housing market in Jersey right now is insane.
Now, I heard Salah's a little bit of, was on top of the crew that was working on the house.
Like he's got time for that rookie head coach.
He was very meticulous on certain things. I know a family member was frustrated by the work that was being done on the home.
Wow, someone frustrated with their contractor.
Yeah, very
Shocking.
frustrated with the contractor and work. He had to take a step back, obviously, when training camp began.
Yeah, and they have a newborn. The 7th one is only a couple months old.
Yeah, 2 rooms makes no sense, even if it's 2 suites.
It's a lot of spring for the 3rd one. Where's Woody? How about Woody cover the cost here?
Yeah, I
Jets
agree.
can't find him you couldn't also find a rental house?
7 kids,
Airbnb,
Salah, his wife, and a nanny. So you've got 10 people in 2 rooms. That's something it's got to be more than
because
2 rooms.
in my mind, I've had fantasies about living in a hotel because it should be great. You get free, get the towels all the time. Someone cleaning in your room every day. There's a lot that could be awesome about living in a hotel.
Rick Majerus used to live in a hotel.
Did he?
Yeah, Rick Majerus never had a house. Wherever he coached, always lived at a hotel.
Just waiting for the NCAA to come down and make
Utah when he's there. He lived at a hotel.
There's something that I find very appealing about that. I don't have to pick out anything as long as someone's cleaning the room every day, bringing me towels, all that stuff. Nothing would be my problem. Awesome. But you got 7 kids and the nanny. I'm going to an Airbnb there. I'm going to another house.
Yeah, but then it's the move-in and getting everything ready.
A furnished Airbnb.
Yeah,
no?
I get it.
Listen, I get it. Jersey's nuts. I live there right now. The housing market's insane.
Yeah, maybe you couldn't find it. I don't know.
Why wouldn't you move into a house that's all ready to go? You move into a fixer-upper?
There's got to be more than just 2 rooms.
I freaking hope so.
Yeah, there's got to be.
Because
3.
then you're looking at 2 bathrooms for 10 people.
Well,
nightmare.
I would imagine the babysitter that's living with you, she has to have her own room.
I would imagine.
She can't be bunking up with the kids.
Maybe listen, it's just temporary. I want my own bathroom if I were her.
I think she
That's
would
not
have,
unreasonable.
I would think she has her own room. So you have to knock 1 off that list. So it's 9 because she can. I would imagine they're not going to have her basically bunking up with the kids.
Yeah, you got to sleep with the 5-year-old.
No, so she's got to have her own. She's got to have her own room.
Also, where are they all sleeping? They have bunk beds and stuff like that. It's a hotel. Cots, I guess.
Yeah,
cots. Cot life.
Yes.
Been there.
Hopefully the
camp.
Good for him. He's getting a house built right from the ground up.
Yeah. I don't know. This is probably one of those times I just would have moved in somewhere. Reacting to what was a really difficult day for the Jets rookie quarterback yesterday. The offense just had a rough one. But it was really the rookie who wears it on this Monday. Defense, I thought, held up. Quite frankly, I'm shocked the defense has looked as good as it has over these first 2 games. Mike is in the Heineken truck. That's a good place to be. Hi, Mike.
Spot to be.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good.
I just wanted to mention about him. I have no problem with him not being on the field for the reason is he's obviously doing something or not doing something behind the scenes that we don't know about. And if the coaching staff wants to establish a good rapport with everybody, show what they have to do and set an example, you can't prove this guy. If he's obviously not doing something.
Yeah.
And maybe they're just not saying anything because, you know what, they don't want to hurt his trade value, even though he probably doesn't have any at this point.
Yeah, but what could he have? But isn't that on the staff? I mean, that's on the coaching staff to get the best out of him. That's on the coaching staff. I mean, it's not a case of where you all of a sudden, what the hell's the point of coaches to throw your hands up and say, hey, We did all we
But
could.
you know what?
He's just, I mean, they're done. That's on these guys. These
What
guys,
if he's
you know,
not
when you
showing
look
up?
at, say,
He's not
other
doing his
rookies
thing.
that have struggled around, we need more out of the rookie. We need more out of this guy. It's on you guys as a staff. That's why you're hired to do your job, to get more out of Denzel Mims, to get him on the field.
I understand that, but if you're the best teacher in the world, if the student doesn't want to do it, he's not going to do it. So, I mean, you don't know.
I
But
have
you know
to
what?
believe it's
You know
got
what?
to be
You can-
something
you can
pretty
go-
bad. Like, I got to agree with you. I got to think it's got to be something pretty bad for a rookie coaching staff with a rookie quarterback to not be able to put all of your weapons on the field. Like,
Absolutely. You want to help him as much as you can.
I would think
if he's
so.
not doing,
I just wonder, do you think he's...
Mike, before you let Mike go,
Yeah.
as part of your when you're finished delivering all the Heineken today, are you able to take a 6-pack home with you?
Sneak one?
We have tents. We have tents at the end of the week that, they come home for $5 a case,
Oh,
They take
there you
care
go.
of it that way.
Ah, beautiful.
All right.
Enjoy the Heinies at home. All
It's
right?
Monday. We're almost there.
You got it. Yes, that's it.
Today's basically over, and then you got tomorrow.
Then
And
you
the
got
next day, it's
tomorrow,
basically
and
Wednesday
Every
at this
day
point.
now run in the fall. Every day runs right into one another.
Thursday
right?
night football,
That's
and then you're
exactly
home
right. End
free.
of the week, $5 cases.
See if
Can't
the
beat
Yankees.
that.
See if the
$5
Yankees are
cases
anywhere
of
close to the wild
Heineken.
card. What will be at the end of this week? Are we crying Yankee tears at the end of this week? We're going to talk about that in a minute. Let's get Harris here. He's on Long Island. Harris, what's up?
Hey, how you guys doing?
They're great.
Good. So here's my thought. I mean, everything's pretty much been said, and I have no problem going into the season again this year with the no expectation of winning. But you know what? When you go to an actual game, and yesterday's game, in my opinion, if they had even Joe Flacco from last year, once he threw his third pick, which was a terrible throw, if you would have had somebody that could have played in that game and been competitive, they might have won that game. They were just as good as the Patriots, other than the quarterback. So then, and you're a fan, you go to these games. You don't go to the game hoping to see like 3 nice throws. You forget who's the quarterback, and you just get into the game and you think, well, we'd like to try to win. And without having a backup quarterback that you can go to, not that you're quitting on Wilson because he had a bad half, but you say, you know what, we're trying to win a football game. And it appears that winning a football game isn't even in the
The mindset. I don't know about winning this year. I don't know how much they're prioritizing that.
So game 1, Harris, at home for the Jets. Wilson, you want to take him out of the game and put in Flacco
or picks, yes, 100%. In that
Nick
game,
Folk.
what good was it doing them? What good was it doing them to stay in that game yesterday? Not to, start them next week again, but why not try to win a football game and have somebody you could bring in that could make it possible?
Because this is part of it. I mean, Harris, this is part of the learning curve. So when you look at like a Foles, or you look at a Joe Flacco, or the other veteran quarterbacks that you see in here, Jets are not going to do that to Zach Wilson. His first game out at MetLife Stadium is, hey, Rook, go to the bench. We're going to put the veteran in here and see if we can win this football game. I have a hard time envisioning them doing that. I just don't. Now, you want to have the argument about, and the discussion, Maggie, about, all right, well, a veteran can help in the room.
Yep.
Help with the learning curve. Yeah, I think there's something to be said about that, but Wilson's going to play. Wilson is going to continue to play. The Jets are hoping that he works everything out this year so that when this team does have enough talent, they're ready to go, and he's ready to go.
The world moves pretty fast. 1 minute you're standing, the next you're dragging. How can you keep up? I'll tell you. I'm Ira Madison III, host of Keep It. Each week, Louis Vertel, Aida Osman, and I do the hard work of exploring the intersection between entertainment, culture, and politics, with guests like Billy Porter, Catherine O'Hara, Ronan Farrow, Francesca Ramsey, and more. New episodes of Keep It drop every Wednesday. Listen on Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hear that? That's the sound of someone trying to steal your crypto. Every day, thousands of hackers online are doing the same. That's why Arculus uses air-gapped cold storage technology to protect your assets. Using our keycard and wallet app to form a protective barrier, Arculus insulates you from hackers and puts control of your digital assets back in your hands. Order the first truly air-gapped crypto wallet at getarculus.com.